Do you guys think that what we are seeing in computers and tech systems becoming more easy to use, more streamlined, more obfuscated to the general user, do you think it draws parallels to how cars and mechanics have gone? You know, the idea that the older generation was like, oh, the youth don't even know how to fix their own cars. They don't even know how to, sort an engine and fix that. I'm like, do you think that's because maybe the newer design has been so much more complicated inside that what's ended up happening is either access to the inside parts has been removed, or even if you could access it, you don't see any systems that are like it similar enough to know how to work with them or use them. And now we've got the digital version of that, whereas previously you had access to the operating systems and the files, and even just moving files around within Windows was something that you could quite easily do. But now it's designed to be streamlined and simple at the cost of you're losing the ability to work out how it works. I feel that's a thing that we've got into now. I don't think that the newer generation, this is something that I really hate, I don't think the newer generation are stupid at all. I know that it's a really popular boomer thing to do, and it's a popular thing to hate the next generation after you. I don't think that the kids growing up today, the younger generation, are anywhere near stupid. They're straight up not stupid. What they have been given is a system that is more difficult to engage with by design. That's a good question. Kyra, do you think this new generation relies more on AI? Or do you think we are just seeing the aspects of the generation who rely more on AI? Because you might be spot on, you might be right. You might be 100% spot on, and you know what? It's an entire generation, they're all cooked, and they just completely rely on AI to do everything for them. Or do you think it's just a response to a tool that's being pushed down people's throats? Because you have to remember, the younger someone is, the easier it is to manipulate them. And we can all look back on our tween and teen years and agree that we were dumb. So if you are a tweenager, which is normally like 11, 12, and 13, or a teenager, and you are seeing all of these big companies and all these influencers and all these, sexy tech demos really promoting AI, part of you is probably going to think, yeah, it's fine. That's totally fine. And we can obviously look and go, oh, they're cooked. Oh, it's bad. But they've been exposed to it for so long that it's completely normal. But at the same time, we are a generation. Yeah, that's true. I really agree with that. That is a lovely thing there. Don, I'm going to pick up on that. I think right now what we are seeing, millennials and Gen Z, we are seeing a generation of people who have grown up doing what they have been told is the right thing. They went to college, they saved, they did all this. They did everything correctly, and they still don't have what they wanted to have. And I think that is creating a huge amount of animosity. It's generating a massive amount of, if anything, lifestyle regret. And it's not their fault. If you follow the life path that the older generation have laid out for you, and then even within the following of the path, you don't have what you were told you would have, you're going to feel resentment. And you know what? You're goddamn right to feel that. You're straight up allowed to feel that. Yeah, you went through the motions you were told to go through, and you still didn't get the promised result. That sucks. And you're allowed to be angry at that. Sometimes when you go back and you watch The Simpsons early seasons, you don't see the comedy. You see a father effectively caring for a family of 5 on one wage with a car and a nice house and 2 kids with hobbies and a baby. And you see a stay-at-home mom who's able to sort out the affairs of the house and go and follow her own passions outside of that as well. Oh, they had 2 cars. Yeah. And I think it's totally okay to look at that and be like super annoyed you haven't got that. You know what I really hate as well? I really hate the idea that there's this comedy style that seems to be entirely focused around joking that the kids don't know how a book works. What? What are you on about? Oh, this new generation. Have you ever heard of this? It's called a book. Yeah, everyone knows how a book works, mate. It's not a difficult, complicated thing. Have you guys seen that kind of boomer humor? It's always a cartoon of like a kid picking up, being like, Father, how do I click the book? And I'm like, what are you on about? That was me motioning them holding a book in a way they don't know how to click it. Haha, we failed as parents. That's what the joke is. Haha, this new generation doesn't know what to do. You know what I really like as well? I really like when it's a bit of a self-telling, self-own, if you will. And they're like, oh my god, these kids are so stupid, they don't even know how to do this. Did you teach them? No, they should just know it. Common sense is not common. Common sense is collective shared knowledge. But unless you share that knowledge, it doesn't propagate. It doesn't get shared. Oh, these kids should just know how to do that. How? You cannot be annoyed at someone not knowing something if you haven't shown them how to do it. If you've taught them how to do it and they still don't know, yeah, sure, now we can start blaming ignorance. You know what, Asa, there is indeed a video of a toddler trying to zoom in on a photo like it was an iPad, and that definitely says something about society, but can you kind of blame the toddler if that's what they've known? You know what, when I first saw that video of a toddler trying to zoom in on a picture like it was an iPad, part of me was like, oh man, they're so dumb. And then there have been multiple times in my life where I have not known if something is a touchscreen or not. Like, I've walked up to some kind of service booth or some kind of TV or some kind of screen that I have to interact with, and I don't know if this is a touchscreen or if there are buttons around it or if I have to just wait. So I've been just trying to tap a screen, and then someone's come up to me and they're like, sir, that's not a touchscreen. I'm like, okay, but you can understand why I thought it was. Because everything else is. I don't like humor that pokes fun at the fact that there are entire generations that have not been shown how to do something. Yeah, people do say, oh, you know, you should know how to do it. You've got the internet. Look it up. Sometimes having someone show you how to do something is far more important than just looking it up. You heard one of those jokes at the monastery once. Tell us the joke, blessed girth. Yeah, it's an ego boost. What's the deal with different cultures? That's ultimately what it is. Yeah, human interaction is a great thing. It's a great teaching tool. People want human interaction. Most people don't even want to learn something. What they want to do is experience something with somebody else. There is a human connection difference between learning something by practically experiencing it. There is a phenomenological difference between learning something by practically doing the thing with someone else who wants to show you, because not only are you learning the thing, you're also generating a bond with that person, and simply sitting on Google watching YouTube videos or reading articles about how to do it. Because then you're going to create an entire generation of people who don't understand the social aspect of learning. When people say to me, oh, just Google it, when I'm asking them how to do information, it's a little bit tiring to say to themselves, or say to them, I could just Google it. But what I really want is the experience of learning this with you. What I want is the social memory of you and me taking on a challenge, learning it together, and, you know, generating that connection, that memory of doing that together. It's not just about knowing the thing. It's about the fullness that we will generate together by learning the thing together. That's what it's about. Yeah, learning from a person is just, it's the creation of that connection. It's also, people forget this, if you learn something with someone, like if you go through the process of learning something together, then you have built a bond. Maybe a friendship in the future, but at least a bond for right now. In the future, if you then need that person, if that person needs you, you have created your network. You call each other up. You become friends together. You have that connection. That is what it's about. Old people often go to me, oh, you know, I've got friends from this person and friends from this place and friends from this place. I'm like, okay, how did you generate those? Oh, we did things together. We learned things together. Cool. So maybe we could do that. That sounds great. There's also so many tutorials online that don't teach you the small things that you can only learn from doing the thing. Here's an important thing that I learned when I was a teacher. And I've said this before. Some of you that have been around for a while will remember me saying this. When you are erasing something from a chalkboard or a whiteboard, erase using vertical strokes, not horizontal. So if you have the cleaner up and down, not across. Reason is if you're facing the board and doing horizontal strokes, your butt will wiggle and kids will laugh at it. Up and down, you don't get that. And especially if you are a more well-endowed female teacher, you don't want kids focusing on that. Random thing, but there we go. And that's the kind of thing that you get and you learn and you understand through experience. What if you want your butt to wiggle? That's fine. You can do that as well. but at least now you know. I mean, if you want to go for the ass wiggle, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's things that you have to understand and know. Draenei teacher wiggle. Yeah. It is about knowing the small things, and it's about creating that connection. We have more access to knowledge. What's a good way of putting this? We have greater access to human knowledge than we ever had before, and yet we are further apart from the humans than we ever were. What did I just join into? You joined into me complaining about the fact that while we have access to all of human knowledge forever, what we sometimes lack is the human connection that learning the knowledge together will get you to. The idea of, oh, just Google it. Honestly, I think just genuinely harms the process of learning. Is this prep for TED? No, I know what I'm doing for my TED Talk. I'm talking about information hazards and knowing the meta within games. I have in my pocket one of the most advanced pieces of technology of all time that gives me access to all of human information, and I use it to argue with strangers. Well, if that ain't the human condition, if that ain't just what we're all doing. How's the basilisk? That's what I'll be talking about. I'll be talking about information hazards, meta knowledge, and the way that it changes as we all play. Oh, hang on. Lady Cereves should be dead by now. Well, out of mana. Time for the wand. I'm out of spells. I'm not out of options. I think gaming fits right into the concept. We did noob runs in early raids. Information hazards as in fake news. No, an information hazard, and again, if you've heard this yesterday, let's just go over it for those who weren't here. An information hazard is knowledge that when you have it, fundamentally changes the way you approach something, because you then either have to acknowledge it or have to ignore it. And knowing that it exists at all changes the way you engage with stuff. Here's an example. Let's imagine that you were playing your favorite video game. It's an RPG game, and it's a classic adventure, Dungeons and Dragons fantasy game. Let's imagine that someone tells you and shows you that the best armor in the game is available for free within 5 minutes of starting the game. Now you know that. You have to either start every run by getting it, or start every run by deliberately not getting it. But the fact that you know that it exists means you have to engage with that. How would you feel? How would you feel knowing that it's there? Because if you didn't know it's there, you just play the game with the way that you want to play the game. But as soon as you know that it's there, you have to either make the choice to go and get it, which makes every other armor set in the game irrelevant, or you have to make the choice to not get it, which means you know on a mechanical level you are playing the game at least slightly less efficiently than you could be. You have to either acknowledge the game has given you a mechanical advantage and change, or acknowledge that you are ignoring it. And believe it or not, that is the exact case in Baldur's Gate. In Baldur's Gate, you can get a set of Ankeg plate mail for free within the first 5 minutes of starting the game. How do you guys feel about Dark Souls? The fact that in Dark Souls 1, you can get the Zweihander pretty much immediately, and it will be the best weapon that carries you through the vast majority of the game. Is it not like that in 90% of games? Yes, it is, Seba. The difference is that you didn't know. And it's the process of discovery that itself is fun, but it's the process of discovery that gives you the information hazards. Whenever we look back on games we played as a kid, when we look back on how we used to experience games, we just straight up didn't know, which means we played the games in a way that allows us to not know. Zweihander is the noob trap. It's strong, but you don't learn to deal with encounters. I did. It was learning. It was the process of learning. Yeah, absolutely. But the idea is that you have to actively choose to go and get it or not get it. Blind playthrough of DS1 is the best experience I've had as an adult. Absolutely. Information can be... I didn't realize this many buttons were undone on the shirt, but I'm kind of keeping it. Information can be an information hazard. Sometimes, the more you know about something, the less you enjoy the experience of the thing. Let's say that you start playing a video game and you learn, and someone tells you, oh, by the way, if you just jump over that, the game glitches and you get straight to the final boss and you beat the game. Okay, cool. Now that I know that, I've got to either choose to do it or not choose to do it. Now, that's probably not going to be a choice that I make. I just consider it a glitch. But what if I started playing a video game and someone straight away said to me, oh, by the way, if you stand on that box over there, you get given 1,000 gold to start the game with. It's a little trick the developers added to make it easier. Okay, cool. Now I need to decide whether I do or don't do that every single run. And while it may not ruin my life, What you have to understand with an information hazard is it is a small decision that you are now being forced to make that you were not being forced to make before. And that's bad. It's not bad. It's something that you cannot unknow, and it fundamentally changes how you have to approach that thing from then on. Do you not constantly do these decisions during replays of games? I mean, yeah, I try and replay them while making the choices, but it's a point of it's still a choice that I have to make. Sometimes knowing something exists changes how you approach and engage with things around it. That's the complexity. An information hazard is, once you know it, you can't unknow it. And while it may not ruin your life, it's one of those things where you kind of have to do it. In RuneScape, you can go and first of all do the... Is it Wintertote? There's a boss in RuneScape called Wintertote, which very much is based on your fire-making level. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. But while you're doing the Wintertote game, the mini-game, or the Wintertote, you also take damage. You take damage while you are there. However, you take damage based on your maximum hit points, which means that it's most efficient to do that when you're at low maximum hit points. Because it used to be, Brave, was that the way that it used to work? It used to work with, if you did it at low maximum hit points, it was just straight up better. Which means it was the early game meta. So everyone just did that. That's an information hazard. You know that if you don't do it this way, you're doing it wrong. Yes, you of course, mate. Blessed Girth. Add in the idea with the Baldur's Gate, the changes. Red has also been cursed. Red, I will uncurse you. Where are you, Red? Let me uncurse you. It's why people like to play games blind. Yeah, it's why whenever I was playing Mass Effect and people kept telling me where some of the best secrets were and the best ideas, and oh, if you go and do this, people would say to me, like when I was playing a game for the first time, oh, by the way, if you go and do this and this and this and this and this happens. And I'm like, okay, you've now told me that, which means I now need to either actively go and do that or actively avoid doing that. But what you have removed from me is the ability to discover that. I mean, you guys did keep really tight-lipped about Archangel. I appreciated that. There are better ones. Ankeg is essentially full lightweight plate. Yes, there are plates +1 and plates +2. It's not the best in the game, but it's definitely the best at that early stage. Now, you guys did really well keeping that from me. I appreciate that. This is why, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, didn't Moist Critical stop playing Baldur's Gate 3 on stream because everyone kept telling them exactly what to do? And Mad Season is learning OSRS by just discovering it. Yeah, I'm sure it was a Moist Critical thing, where he basically said, no, I'm not doing it because you keep telling me what to do. And the reasons that's a problem is basically it's an information hazard that you're just giving the streamer. The same happened with Markiplier and Undertale, because when people are watching a stream and they give their input, they give their ideas, they give their passion, what you're actually doing is providing the streamer with many, many, many small information hazards. Stuff they cannot unknow. And when you give someone something that they cannot unknow, they are then playing the game in a different way because they have gathered the information at a different pace to the way that you gathered it. Isn't that called a spoiler? Potentially. It doesn't necessarily need to be a spoiler about narrative. Sometimes it can be a mechanical spoiler. Because let's say, for example, that... Uncursed. Let's say, for example, that I'm going to use the fire talent, Ignite, that ends up doing extra bonus damage. I will never be able to discover a Warcraft build by myself. I won't be able to. Because someone will tell me the best build for it. Someone will write in chat, oh, if you do this and this and this, it forms a combo. And in their mind, what they're doing is they're helping me. Because they are indeed mechanically improving the damage or the efficiency that I'm playing with. And I appreciate that. The game's 20 years old. You know what, Skyfather, the game is 20 years old, but if I don't read guides and I just play the game myself, that's fine. If a film is 20 years old but you haven't seen it, it's new to you. If a book is 200 years old but you haven't seen it, it is still new to you. If someone comes along and goes, oh, you should have known that, it's old. Well, no, because people don't immediately engage with media the moment it releases. I won't give you a full build, but I will tell you the key talents that make a build work. That's what people end up doing. They say, hey, this works because of this, and this works because of this. Hang on, let me uncurse Blessed Girth and Red Lemonade. There we go. Yeah, people can give hundreds of tips. Of course they can, and many people enjoy doing that. And it ends up being a fun thing to do. So whenever you're playing a video game on stream and someone offers input or someone offers advice, it itself, in a very minor way, is an information hazard. Because it's now something that I can't not know. It's why most people didn't watch my Expedition 33 video, because I told them not to. If you don't want spoilers, don't watch it. But all this stuff is... individually, it's not a problem. No individual grain of rice tips the scale, and no one person who is offering advice thinks that they are harming anything, because in a way they're not. Yeah, that they're not really harming anything specifically. I think I would like advice and I would like input when I want to try and ask for it. That's what it is. Yeah. There is no discovery, and I want there to be a discovery because I enjoy the discovery process. And when someone goes, oh my god, it's a 20-year-old game, how have you not discovered it yet? Because I haven't. Because there is no time limit on when I do or don't discover it. The fact that somebody else has found something else that I will then find does not mean that it is any less relevant for me to find it. Bright gloves. Nope, got the Mage Fist ones. People do want to optimize the time they spend away from reality. I totally get that. Did I change your class? I'm pretty sure I am focusing on just being a mage now. Does this extend to the knowledge about the concept of guides too? That's an interesting point, actually. Because if you know that a guide exists to do something and you specifically aren't following it, if it's a solo single-player game, then play the way you want. But if it's a multiplayer game, does the knowledge of that existing... because the knowledge of this can actually impact the way the multiplayer thing goes. This is the Folding Ideas video, It's Rude to Suck at World of Warcraft. You saw me in a Linus Tech Tips video. Yeah, you probably did. I've appeared in some other channels before. Yeah, people don't take into account that the game isn't immediately accessible and available to everyone. But let's say this. Let's say that, you know, use World of Warcraft as an example. When a meta build is discovered, that is then an information hazard for people that may not even be aware of it, because if they are then taking part in group content, everyone else will be expecting them to do it. That's a good point. Running with elephants. We have limited time in the day once you factor in work and family time. Sometimes you've got to optimize. Sometimes people want to optimize their free time to have the best free time. That's what they want. But is the best free time for you the best free time for me? Can developers in 2026 somehow prevent this from happening? Can a new MMO stop guides? No. No, you'll immediately start a guide. Games get data mined before they even release. If anything has a pre-download, it will be data mined. There will be YouTube... I'll tell you why. There will be YouTube videos on day one with meta builds because there will be people that want to watch it on day one. There will be YouTubers that want the day one views. The moment the game releases, there will be guides, there'll be YouTube videos, there'll be streams. Straight away, people will immediately be creating content because there is an audience out there to consume that content. And I would say the reason there's an audience to consume that content is because people, like we said earlier, want to optimize and min-max their free time. What's my opinion on rested XP in that regard? It helped me get to the point of the game that I wanted to play, and then I turned it off. Right, we all here? 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh, Selena's over there. Stealthing it. Gotcha. You always build Stealth Archer in games. That's an information hazard. If you know that Stealth Archer is the best build, you're going to end up building into it at some point. You prefer the game without rested XP to get a unique story. Yeah, that works. My enjoyment of this game is mostly about the mechanical complexity of the combat with friends and streaming and chatting to you guys as well. Would knowing the world is going to end in 10 days be an information hazard? Of course it will. Because then you have to mitigate and change your behavior based on the knowledge that you have. Like if someone could absolutely 100% prove the world was going to end in 10 days, they would then have a responsibility of deciding whether to tell people or not. Because if you tell people 100% this is going to happen, you have to understand that people are then going to act in a different way. Nobody would go to work and everyone would commit whatever crime they wanted to commit. Now for some people that would be no crimes at all because they don't want to do that. For some other people it would be all of the crimes because they've always wanted to, they were just scared of the fallout for it. This is Rocco's Basilisk, that's what this is. Reich says, but we would all want to do the 10-day orgy, apart from the people that want to do the 10-day murder spree. And it's not like there's going to be any police around to stop them. Some people it will be a 10-day drinking spree. The thing is, knowing that that is the future means that you would then change how you act. Workaholics would just keep working. Maybe they would. But that is that's a perfect example of an information hazard. Now, whenever you explain that an information hazard within a video game context, most people just go, oh, that's not a not a big deal. We're not talking about the severity of the hazard itself. We're talking about the process. Algae fists. Binds when picked up. 10 strength, 4 stamina. I don't need that. Yeah, we're not talking about the severity. We're talking about the understanding of it at all. Josh, you are very fast at taking input and digesting it into your output. Was this always the case, or did you learn to do it? I learned to do it over a long time. I had teachers that were way, way smarter than me, would always be smarter than me. And I also ultimately devolve into using the tried and tested university writing advice of PEEL, P-E-E-L, Point Evidence Explanation Link. So PEEL is one of the easiest ways that you can write an essay. It's one of the easiest ways that you can write any kind of academic structured work. Point Evidence Explanation Link. Make a point, give your evidence for it, explain why it matters, link it to something else that's relevant. So, for example, you said, would knowing that the world is going to end in 10 days be an information hazard? Let's do this. Let's make a point. Point. Knowing that the world is going to end in 10 days is an information hazard. Where's my evidence for that? Where would the evidence for that be? Well, we've already seen that in several societies and systems, once the end point is known about, people change their behaviors. If people know when something is going to end, then they will either not pay as much attention when it ends, or they will stop caring about the value of stuff. We have MMORPG games where once the game is knowingly going to be shut down, suddenly the value of items within that game plummets because people realize they aren't going to be permanent anymore. People start behaving in ways they wouldn't normally behave. We know for a fact that knowing an end point of a system changes how people engage with that system. So that's the evidence. Explain why that matters. Well, if you had the information of the world is going to end in 10 days, do you then share that with people? Because sharing that with people means you are actively then going to engage and encourage the altered behavior. And then link. How do we link that to something else? We linked that to the idea of, well, what else would an information hazard be? Point, evidence, explanation, link. It's the easiest way to write any kind of academic structured essay. A lot of writing and a lot of creation is ultimately just about finding the framework that works. I would also say that happened to New World. When they brought out news, it wouldn't be getting updates. The market just crashed. Yeah, because people suddenly realized that once people realize that the systems they are engaging with are not permanent or have a defined end date, the value of those systems is no longer in what it can create over a long period of time, but in what it gives people right now. People make decisions because they know they'll be beneficial to them in a year. People don't make decisions because they know they won't be detrimental to them in a year. When you say to someone, hey, every single decision you make over the next 10 days is going to be ultimately irrelevant in 11 days' time, you fundamentally change how people approach making decisions. That's an information hazard. It's something that you cannot unknow. Would the change in people's behavior due to the knowledge make their remaining days better or worse? I think they would make them ultimately a mix of extreme fear and hedonism. Whether that's right or wrong is up to you to decide. But I think it would. I think there are a lot of people in the world who don't do things because they're scared of the outcome of those things, not because they don't necessarily want to. Am I planning to kill WoW? I couldn't kill a culture. It's a lot of fun to talk about WoW Classic, and it's hard to do without spoiling stuff. That is very true, which is absolutely why I believe that there is no malice in what people are doing. That's the point that I've got to get across to people. When people share their passion for something, they're not doing it evilly. They're not maliciously trying to pass information across and ruin some experience. But what people are doing, often unknowingly, is teaching information that can't be unlearned. Do I think early access to WoW expansions are harmful to the game? We spoke about this yesterday for quite a time, actually. Increases intellect. Oh, that's good. Early access to a game is often seen as a privilege, which is why it is then monetized. And what people are doing, what the big companies are doing, is they are monetizing the access to the game because they know that people will pay to be one of the first. Simon Cowell drip. No, I just thought I'd wear shades because the inside light ends up hurting my eyes for a while. I can obviously take the shades off for a bit. We can play like this, but then I've got dark eyes going on because I'm not lit as much from the front. There we go. The dark eyes are happening. It's monetizing FOMO. Yep, it's monetizing FOMO, and it's making people focus on being the top of the food chain. It's placing a priority on being first instead of being part of a team. You have to ask yourself when you play these and you speedrun these MMORPG games, do you want to be the first person to get to the end, or do you want to get to the end with your team? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's what I often tell people. People are like, no, but I want to play now. I'm like, yep, I'm sure you do. But you also have to understand that if you go on your own right now, you will go a lot further. but you will eventually reach a point where you really, really, really want a team. The coral band of strength. I don't need that. Why not both? Do you mean going fast and together? That's when you find a good team. Going fast and going as part of a team is a rare thing. When you can do that, you have found the best team for you. Every MMORPG player wants to find a team that both goes fast and far. That's when you build the team together. No team just immediately gets together and is good. They learn, they work, they fail together, and then they get better. That's what I'm hoping this guild is going to be. We will go as slow as we need to for this guild to work up. And together, we will be able to collaborate, learn, improve each other, and find that combination that goes fast and far. People are already complaining that stuff doesn't have... They've speed run to 70. It's an old American military saying. Go slow, because slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. We're going to do a raid with the guild, don't you worry about that. I am going to stop, I'm going to collaborate, and I'm going to listen. That's why you can't play MMOs with your buddies, you're always slow. It's why I'm leveling like 7 different characters. I don't want to out-level the mechanics of other stuff. Guys, I may have pulled, that was entirely my fault. Let me interrupt you, my friend. Fight these guys. Any future MMO I'm excited about? Cthulhu, I'm focusing on what I'm playing right now in the present. To me, an MMORPG isn't necessarily about the game itself being good, it's about the experience the game can give me. So, the future MMO I'm excited about is continuing to play this game with friends, with the guild, with the team.